Hey, it is Friday, August 8th, 2025, 11 a.m. right here, Pacific Standard Time. I am Brannon. So this is Success Never Sleeps, where we, as a collective, try to figure out this thing called life. We're small business owners, specifically martial arts school owners who want to be profitable, happy, take care of our families, our teams, give back to the community, and so much more. But it requires a certain skill set to achieve that. And my purpose is to help you discover, inspire you, lead by example to find the right skill set and tools you need to achieve that goal. What's up, Bapu? I have been in Japan for 2 weeks, folks, and I have a lot to share about that and how I believe it's going to benefit our business. But before we get to that, let's begin by thanking our sponsors. Of course, we have Market Muscles, right? Simply the best in websites. If you're looking for a website, please make sure you use Market Muscles. Tusaw, we do all our business with them pretty much now exclusively, and I'm happy to do that. My father was one of their first clients in the 90s, and I like to continue that tradition and that relationship today. My studio, of course, Tulay and the gang. I love you guys. My studio is what drives. They are a CRM system software, and if you're looking to help systemize a lot of your processes, my studio can help you achieve that. Kids love life skills. We are growing. We're picking up new partners every day. You do need life skills. If you work with kids and you want to be viewed as an investment for families looking for not an extracurricular activity for their child, but an investment, then you need Kids Love Life Skills. LC Accounting, my sister Letitia, love her to bits. She takes good care of me, keeps me in line, make sure my numbers always balance at the end of every year. And she's a BJJ player as well as a black belt in Kenpo Karate. So she understands us. She gets us. Somebody you should be working with. Kin Creative. I love the boys there. They are part of my family now. And we do work together in helping martial arts school owners best tell their story and position themselves via Facebook, Google, YouTube, Instagram to get new students, because we always need to get new students, right? And what do we got coming up, Marco? We got It's Time Life Freedom. We're starting to create buzzes there. People are starting to reach out to me. We only have 10 spots with a $199 discount. The first thing we're cultivating is the 4-day experience. It is a retreat, a pilgrimage. People come from Germany, Canada, as far as England to be part of this for 4 days. It is not a 2-day seminar. It is not a feel-good social media post. Look at me. Here I am at this learning event. No, it truly is life-changing. And I encourage you to make that investment because you are your best investment. Marco put the link in there for you. And I highly recommend you take one of those 10 spots discounted at $199 off. Spend 4 days with me and my team. It will change your life. It's our 9th year doing this, and it will change your life. Cool? And then we also have our mentoring group. I love the team where we're evolving, we're growing as ourselves, as school owners, as mentors are not consultants. Mentors are somebody that works side by side with you 24/7, 365 to to help you figure out the real issues, the day-to-days. And I think that's the big thing versus when you hire a consultant, they come in and fix one problem. You might talk to them once a month at a Zoom. You have access to us 24/7. And I think it's the daily grind of it all that makes or breaks a lot of people in business. And so we are mentors. We are not consultants. Big, big difference. You deserve it. Come spend some time with us. And I think you'll be more than surprised. I think you'll discover things about yourself you didn't know. All right, cool. So I just got back from 2 weeks in Japan. And Japan has always been one of the countries I've wanted to go to. I've been to Korea. I've been to the Philippines, Germany, Spain, Canada. And I really, really, really wanted to go to Japan. It was the first time out of the country for my family, right, as a whole. My wife had been to China when she was young. She visited, but this was a real first time. And I'm going to tell you straight off the bat, I never felt more safe than I did in Japan. And that was a new experience. Culturally, they're a little over 2,000 years old, I think somewhere in there. They have no guns, right? It's the culture that it's against the law. Nobody can have guns. And to watch, we took the train system, the local train as well as the bullet train. And the first thing that I recognized right away was their deep, deep respect for tradition. Now, we're martial arts schools, and I found a very similar kinship, being a martial artist, with a lot of the cultural behaviors in Japan. So that's my first question to you is looking at the martial arts that historically you might be from, Japanese, Chinese, whatever the offshoot may be. Do you mindfully, in a contemporary manner, right? Like Roland Osborne says, well, it was actually O.S. Smith who said this, embrace tradition and respect innovation, right? Respect tradition, embrace innovation. I had that backwards. In today's contemporary times, something like respect cuts like a knife. And every parent wants to be respected by their child. Every child should have self respect for themselves. Everybody should respect each other. That's super important for any culture to exist in harmony. Now, your culture is within the four walls of your school, fundamentally, right? So think right now and put it in the comments. What are some fundamental systems we employ that can really help us confidently deliver respect at a high level? Now, in Japan, I think it's just face value. For 2,000 years, this culture, a Japanese culture, has existed, right? Different wars, different times, but fundamentally, the Japanese culture is still a whole, right? I saw a few other ethnic races there, but predominantly, it's all Japanese. And so, with that said, remember 2,000 years of this type of behavior, 2,000 years of this type of grooming, 2,000 years of this belief system, this societal way of thinking. It's very prevalent. And I witnessed that when I went on the trains, right? They tell you you can't have loud conversation. Do not be having a conversation on your cell phone. I got on this crowded train and everybody was silent for the most part. I'm like, wow, that's a trip. Right? So order is a big thing. Punctuality is a big thing. I just saw a post recently that uh, the bullet train gave everybody back their money with an apology because the train was a couple of minutes late. And I will tell you, every train I got on was there on time, without question. If it said 11:47, that train was there at 11:47. If it said 12:01, that train was there at 12:01. So punctuality for them is something that's a non-negotiable. So again, we say it on our industry, a great class starts on time, a great class ends on time. If you have to think about the given number of classes you teach in a given week, what is the percentage that starts on time? Put it in the comments. Put it in the comments. Think about that. And that's really what today's podcast is all about, right? This episode's all about helping you cultivate a more efficient mindset, maybe borrowing from the Japanese culture, which, we think about it historically in the martial arts, we borrow a lot of the philosophies from Asian cultures like China and Japan in the work that we do, right? In the martial arts that we do. So, do all your classes start on time and end on time? And if they don't, what a great opportunity for course correction. Course correction. Write that down. Because the first thing I did, I posted something while I was away, and somebody shot back at me with a very defensive response, right? And it's not about, we're America, we're great, and everybody else should bow down to us type stuff. It was just me hanging out in Japan, man. I'm not trying to say Japan's better than America or America's better than Canada or Canada's better than Mexico. It's nothing like that. It was just simply being somebody in a culture immersed as a human being. Cool. So I think it was something to a post of, every bathroom is just immaculate in Japan. The public bathrooms are just immaculate. And it was just a trip to witness that, right? Everything is clean in Japan, by the way. Clean, extremely clean. And that made me go, think about my schools. Are my schools always clean? Do we make that effort to keep them clean, right? Another thing we can borrow. And if your schools aren't always clean, then I would encourage you to write a basic system, right? In between classes, does somebody go wipe down the bathrooms? Does somebody vacuum the floor? Does somebody straighten up the equipment rack? Do you have that type of system in place? So every time the next group comes onto the mat, they feel the new experience. There's no reason why class number 4 in a given day should be dealing with a floor covered in dust bunnies, an equipment rack that's jacked up, and parents shouldn't be walking into a waiting area, that has garbage in it. You with me? You with me? And that was the other trip. There are no garbage cans in Japan. None. You were required to carry your garbage with you. Could you imagine for 1 minute if in your school you had no garbage cans and whatever Starbucks they brought into your school, whatever snack they brought in for the sibling to eat, they had to take all of it with them when they left? Wow. Right? It was a trip. We walked around with little plastic bags. If we had garbage, we stuck it in it and stuck it in our backpack and threw it out later. Yeah. So again, why does that exist? Accountability. That's what I got from that. Accountability. Everybody is accountable to keep the city clean. And that is one behavior. That is a system that they've implemented and put in place, right? There's no garbage cans anywhere because you are accountable for your garbage. That's a trip, right? I mean, it's a trip, but I get it. So again, I asked myself, I was reviewing my systems going, well, what systems do we have in place? And we need to be better in our school about those systems between classes. And when I go back to my instructors training, all the junior instructors, that's going to be part of their job. We're going to make it in their job description that between classes, right? The lead instructor takes a break, drinks some water, talks to a parent, goes to the bathroom. The next level instructor warms up the class. Any volunteers, instructors in training, they hit the bathrooms, they straighten up the waiting area. You with me? So that made me rethink that system. Cool. So write that one down because I think, as we say spiritually, cleanliness is next to godliness, right? A well kept school says a lot about who you are. To walk into a restaurant, a store, any environment of service and it's dirty, it's a bad day. Are you with me? Think about that. How do you feel when you walk into an establishment that is dirty? I'm waiting, right? And I mean, we're guilty of it too, folks. We're guilty of it too. I will say that with all humility, that sometimes I'll walk in there at 6:30 to do a spot check, or just stopping by to say hi, and I'm looking at it going, this is not on point. This should look like the first class of the day, and it doesn't. And that just means we need to train harder on those systems. We need to be mindful to remind the team of those systems, right? Because the big thing I understand in business, my team is like a bucket with holes in it. I put in information, it comes out the bottom. That's it. And I'm okay with that. But what I saw in Japan, which is much different, we're discussing 2,000 years of cultural behavior. And what is America? A little less than 300 years old. So the conditioning has been around for 2,000 years. Our conditioning is a melting pot, a total melting pot. Where in Japan, it's like, I don't know, maybe you can look up that percentage, Marco. What is the percentage? How much of the population is Japanese in Japan? And I will tell you from generation to generation to generation, this is generational behavior. Just so obvious. So that was the big one I got. Here's another one. Discipline lives in the smallest details. Stay with me now. Discipline lives in the smallest details. Now, for me, whether it was the gentleman directing traffic, the girl whisking the matcha and making my daughter her morning matcha smoothie, whether it was the guy directing traffic on the train, people still pump gas. Can you believe that? You drive into a gas station. We didn't, but I drove by a gas station and there were attendants standing there, dressed in full uniform to serve you gas in what, 100-degree weather? I saw the same thing at Disneyland, the same thing at Disney Sea. People dressed accordingly. A lot of pride in what they wore. But what I saw was the discipline in the smallest details. So, what does that remind me of? I've said this and I'll say it many times. It is not the little things that matter, it's everything that matters. So, from greeting people at the front door, to taking attendance, to helping them tie their belt, to preframing the class, to warming up the class, to teaching the curriculum of the day, to the game at the end, to the closing of the class, is every little detail ironed out? Is it written down? Is it systemized? Do you train your team actively on it? Because remember, again, going back to Japan, 2,000 years, 2,000 years, this is generational conditioning. Generational. right? That conditioning has been around forever. Where again, we're a young culture. Let's see what it says here. Yeah. Yep. 97 to 98% are Japanese. So they're not Japanese in 2025. They are Japanese for 2,000 years. And I witnessed that. I witnessed that. And that is why that 5-year-old kid is riding the train by himself. You know, the thought of kidnapping a kid and doing something insane like human trafficking doesn't exist. These kids move freely, freely. And I was just amazed by that because, you know, I would never let my child out of my sight. Can you imagine that, Marco? Seeing Christian get on a bus by himself at 5 years old? No way, right?
Yes.
Right? No way. Yet we're on this train. We're going somewhere. And I looked and I'm going, where's that kid's parents? And there were no parents. And this kid at 5 years old is riding the train by himself. That's generational. That's generational, right? And I enjoyed that. Again, I have never felt so safe anywhere. Even here in Millbrae, where I live, I have never felt as safe as I did in Japan. And that sense of safety that people experience every day is probably one of the reasons why they adhere to the cultural behaviors that have been planted for generation to generation for close to 2,000 years, right? Hey, and if you're coming aboard, say hi. You know, I hope, you know, I'm glad you're here, Bob, because the stuff I'm sharing, I think can really, really help our businesses and do a lot for us. I really, really do. I do. I do. I do. So when my daughter would get her matcha in the morning, and there were other people getting matcha tea, matcha smoothies, they had this wooden bucket on the counter, right? And she would take this ladle and dip it into the water, put it in the matcha and whisk it, or dip it and put it into the tea. But the way she placed the ladle back, she balanced it on the rim of this bucket. And every time she put that ladle down, it was ladle, pull back, let go. Ladle, pull back, let go. Ladle, pull back, let go. So no matter what day, you know, we did this, I saw it was always repeatedly the same. The same. And what do I talk about in marketing? Trust is the last true form of marketing. And you must market consistently to earn trust. Same thing here. Your behaviors need to be consistent. My warm up is consistent. The way I communicate to my team is consistent. The way we interact with our parents and students is consistent. Consistent. Because we understand the discipline that comes with consistently executing is why people walk into that little matcha stall. Now, we stayed in Osaka for part of our vacation in our Airbnb, which was just amazing. That's a whole nother conversation. We'll get into in a moment. We would walk out of our Airbnb and we're literally in a street market for blocks and blocks and blocks. And there's every food vendor side by side by side. The level of competition for where people would eat must be tremendous. Now, we're talking about millions and millions of people in a dense population in a small space. So I'm sure there was enough clientele for everybody. But again, as I went from food stall to food stall, the guy the conductor on the train, everybody, they moved with this deep sense of respect. And I know, these are minimum wage jobs. The girl in the matcha store, that's minimum wage. The gentleman in the food stall, that's minimum wage. It's got to be, right? Yet there was so much pride and respect in what they did because it wasn't what they did, it was why. And I witnessed that purpose everywhere I went. Everywhere I went. Even the, attendees in the temples we would go to, or something as basic as the sidewalk, where we got juice. Everybody behaved with this deep sense of self, and they took a lot of pride in their work. And nobody judged them because they worked in, a boba shop, and they weren't judged because they were pumping gas in a gas station. The sense of respect and equality was beyond anything I have witnessed. And that reminded me, in my business, I really strive to promote a sense of equality. Thus is why our school is called One. We are all one people. We are all equal. And my mantra again, there's nothing above me, there's nothing below me. And if I do that, that is level 5 leadership. I don't sit behind a desk and crack a whip and tell people what to do. No, no, no. I'm right in the trenches with them. I clean bathrooms. I vacuum. I wipe down the formica. I take the beginners. And I think in our industry, there's often that huge disconnect. There's the master. There's the lowly student, right? You're lucky to train with me. And for me, I didn't see that there. Now, there's a deep respect for elders, and we'll have that conversation in a moment. But it just reminded me that I must continue to perpetuate in my school a sense of equality. When somebody asks me a question, I must be mindful to not only give them lip service, I must listen to their ideas, actively listen with a genuine sense of care and interest, and make sure if their ideas are great, I implement them. Now, what do I witness with the majority of my clients? It's easier for me to do it. Nobody does it better than me. That's ego. That's pure ego. I've been gone for the better part of a month between Vegas and Japan and everything, and I didn't look back. I don't think I communicated at all for the past 2 weeks with anybody in either location, and they were ran with a level of efficiency, right? And they're in the middle of day camp. They're in the middle of getting prepped for testing, right? We're testing 800 people, plus we have black belt testing. They ran it well because I wrote the systems well, and then I trained them on the systems well, and then I trust them that they're going to execute the systems well because I not only got the people right people on the bus, I got them in the right seat. Now it didn't happen in a minute. This is years and years of constant, consistent improvement. As Toyota says, Kaizen, constant improvement, constant. And we're still doing that now. We revamped all our summer camp. Guess what? Enrollment went up. We're revamping after school. I believe it's going to go up, right? We've overhauled our curriculum. Our numbers are higher. There you go. I mean, we spend our time, and I wrote that in an article on retention. I posted it. It's at my blog, brannonbeliso.com, but I posted the blog as well on all our major groups. Please read it. The thing, again, we witness in our industry is people forego. They like the instant gratification. New student, money's instant, right? You sign up, I get money. I renew you, I get money. Retention, you don't get money. Retention is a long-term investment, right? So to make that type of investment through a disciplined practice of habits and systems in your school is the farmer mentality. And I witness that everywhere. It's not what they did, it's why, right? How can you walk through a bullet train with a big thing, collecting garbage, and you're walking through that train, like you just came up with a cure for cancer? I mean, that's what it was like. And I would look at that going, wow, wow, intelligent, well-read people. I saw a lot of that too. And I realize, again, that purpose of self. There's a deep, deep sense of respect everywhere because people do their job. And you know how they do their job? Another behavior. There's no tipping in Japan. You don't tip anybody because they're getting paid to do what they do, right? They don't do it to get a tip, right? It's not dangling the carrot. They do what they do because that is their job and they do it well. They don't do it well. Maybe if I do it better, I'll get a bigger tip, right? The fact there's no tipping in Japan anywhere, anywhere. You can't tip anybody. We got massages almost daily, no tip. We ate in restaurants daily, no tip. No tip. Cab driver, we had a private driver one day, took us all over to the temples, no tip. No tip. They do what they do because that's their purpose. Pretty trippy, right? Pretty trippy. Yeah, I'm almost hesitant to want to tip anybody here now because a tip is not something. Hey, Ken, what's happening? Ken, this is Ken. I studied under you. Ken, what's your last name? I don't want to do that here, Ken, if you don't want, boy. What's your last name, Ken? Put it in, Ken. I'd love to know. All right, I just had to answer that. That sounds very familiar, Ken. Maybe connect with me after this. That'd be very cool. That'd be very cool. I love your observation of Japan, everything you said so far. I've witnessed numerous times during my many trips. Yeah, yeah. And again, I walk the streets late at night. My kids walk the streets late at night. I had no fear for their safety. It was the trippiest thing. There's no locks. I mean, there's no alarms anywhere. There's nothing with an alarm. And I saw very little police present at any given time, at any given time, at any given time. And I found that impressive as well. There is a deep respect for the elderly. They have a much older population. They live longer in Japan than most cultures in age, and they work. They work. They work. They work. A majority of the cab drivers, the people directing traffic, working in the gas station, there seems to be that, the elderly. But in all the food stalls, different things like that, the boba place, the fast food, all that, they were younger kids. Because I guess what's happening is people are coming out of college with degrees and there's not a lot of work. When they went into college, AI wasn't that prevalent. Now they come out with this degree and AI is taking their job. So I saw a lot of that too. But nonetheless, if you're working in a food stall, deep sense of pride. Nobody judged you for the job you did. Everybody took pride in what they did. So again, how can I instill that, right? That was a big one for me. How can I instill that in my team to take pride? How do you recondition people that cleaning a bathroom isn't a dirty below you, behavior, that it's really awesome. So I got to write about it. I have to put in a Slack channel why that bathroom needs to be clean and why. It speaks volumes about one martial arts and how much we care about people and why. And now, why am I using the bathroom? Does anybody know? Because it's the most used space in your whole school. Your students, the parents, the siblings all use the bathroom. The siblings and parents aren't on the mat training, but everybody uses the bathroom. And a trip, every public bathroom I went in Japan was clean. Everything was clean. And that's important to me. Now, how do I encourage that to a team, right, with a lot of teenagers and stuff? Well, systematic training is one. Two, posting philosophies in Slack. Why? Why a clean sink and what does it mean? When you reach to go wash your hands in the sink and it's clean, what it says about the establishment. So I'm rethinking all that because I know it's going to be a long process. Remember, 2,000 years, 98% Japanese. I get it. We're dealing with a much more diverse melting pot of people where we are here. But how can we bring that into our four walls of our school? Think about that. Well, what does a clean bathroom have to do with getting new students? A lot. If your students that walk into your school feel cared for, they feel valued, right? They feel respected, they will stay and they will tell people. And that was the cool thing. Again, whether it was a street vendor, whether it was the girl making matcha, whether it was the attendant on the train, everybody treated me with this deep sense of respect. And I found that valuable. Even when I'm pulling out my phone and trying to translate into Japanese, there was this sense of patience, care, and I felt extremely valued. Can we do better in our schools? Yes. Can we simply dismiss it as he's 16 years old? Oh, well, no. No, it's about planting seeds and creating awareness because the behaviors I saw were conditioned. 2,000 years of conditioning, right? Can we bring that into our schools? Yes, we can. We write the systems and we share why those systems are there. And then we train the team on it. And with a sense of patience, which makes your team feel with value, with a sense of empathy, which makes your team feel valued, right? You can go through this process until they get it because they're not going to get it right away. They will not. They simply will not. Because the fact that a parent would put their 5-year-old on a train and let them go to school by themselves, there is a deep sense of conditioned trust. I know that's not here. It's not. So can I organically write that into systems in my school? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. I get it. Marketing was a big thing. I spent a lot of time. They say Japan's ahead of us, in fashion and technology. They're about 2 years ahead of us. So I spent a lot of time studying marketing, right? Marketing. So, with that said, what I witnessed was two sides of marketing there. One was the very simple, clean, confident Apple behavior, right? You'd walk in an establishment, everything has its place, right? What's that saying from the movie, Marco? Everything has its place and every place has. What movie was that? Was that Willy Wonka? Or maybe it was Harry Potter. Figure out that one for me, Marco, and put it in. But everything had its place. It was very clean. It was very clear. So most of the marketing in the high-end stores was very clean, right? Very neat, very slick, very precise, very well thought out. A place for everything and everything in its place. What movie is that from, Marco? Just to help me on that. So, taking that saying, because that's what triggered it, a place for everything. If right down to a single hand target, it has a place in your school. More than that, and everything in its place. Because if that hand target is visibly on an equipment rack within reach of the instructor, then he has the tools to deliver the curriculum at a higher level. You agree with me? And if I write the drill for whatever curriculum we're teaching, how to use that hand pad, and I train the team on it so they're confident to reach for that hand pad and use it when they're teaching the curriculum. So that hand pad has its place. What is that? Jingalaka? Jinga. I don't know who that is. That's Art Studio. I'm not sure what that is. But thank you. Thank you for the humor. So I witnessed that we do a lot of this. You know, we do a lot of this. Original late 18th to 19th century. I'm not sure what that is. So I experienced that. So it made me think. And that's why, again, writing the system between classes, you straighten up the equipment rack, everything is in its place. So the next person going to teach a class, everything's in its place. There's nothing worse. And we had that a couple of weeks ago well, over a month, because I haven't been there in a while, where we were reaching for, knives to do a knife technique and we couldn't find them. And for a minute, the chaos between me and the other instructor and how we were disappointed. We reached for where the knives were supposed to be and they weren't there. So it immediately created downtime. It immediately impacted our classes. So everything has its place, right? And everything in its place. I witnessed that a lot. Another thing I found very valuable in the marketing was how they would take one product and hit all your senses. There's a store called Don Quixote. It's massive. Appliances, luggage, skincare, toys, toiletries, just massive. It was kind of like an IKEA. There were no windows. You'd walk in, you'd follow arrows. But I stood in front of an end cap in this one store, and I paid attention. So, products on the shelf. I don't know what the product was. Let's call it matcha tea. Behind that matcha tea, there was the speaker playing things, telling me things. When I translate, it was telling me things about the matcha tea. Okay, wonderful. Above it was a 3D display. Somebody had to assemble this thing and strategically hang it, telling me this is matcha latte tea. Then they had a TV playing a video, silently, but playing a video of somebody enjoying this matcha tea. And then I looked at the pricing. Everything was, people walk around and clean up these shelves constantly. But no, I'm going to take that back. People don't mess up the shelves and take something they don't want to buy and go put it on a different shelf because it's convenient. I kid you not. The order in these stores was crazy. Everything was in its place all the time. Straight rows, labels facing forward, the whole 9 yards. But in that marketing, what I saw, the opportunity was to create that emotional connection with this matcha latte mix, right? Through sight, sound, every sense possible. I'm sure if they could put a smell there, they would have. So again, something basic like your Pro Shop. Great example. Pro Shop. Roland Osborne's brilliant at that, by the way. I'm not a retail store. So my Pro Shop is very, very clean, but it's branded. We don't use the wooden slat wall. We use a white slat wall. The little black inserts fits our brand color of red, black, and white. We have a couple of simple spotlights on it. What we can do better is to make sure it's always stocked, right? That needs to be a new system I need to write. At the end of the day, whatever instructor's closing does a visual inspection. And if it's lacking size quadruple uniforms or it's lacking this or that, post it in Slack. That way, when the admin team comes in or the janitorial team comes in, they can correct it. They can fix it. Now, if you come into my schools, you'll see them. They're pretty sparse. I'm a minimalist. I believe in that because I believe in our product. We don't need a lot of bells and whistles. Again, Apple. I love my whole house is that way. There's not a single picture hung on a wall in my house. My kids' rooms, they do their posters of their basketball teams, whatever. But our house as a whole is very minimalist. Right? Think about it. We don't have any family pictures on the wall. None of that exists. I enjoy that type of marketing. I think what it says is I have a lot of confidence in my product. So, in my conversations with kin this week, talking to them, having confidence enough in your teaching, having confidence enough, not ego, confidence enough in what you do to be able to cultivate that is powerful. It's just powerful, right? Or do you need AI generated imagery? Do you need that when you're promoting your school? Put it in the comments. It's got me thinking a lot. I know we're doing a lot of things well, but there's without no doubt in my mind, we can do things better. And again, borrowing from Toyota, they live by Kaizen, constant improvement, constant improvement, constant improvement, Kaizen, constant improvement. You with me? You with me? So I want you to think about that for a moment. All right. So stay with me now, because all of this is really valuable stuff. The service I witnessed was quiet, humble, and deeply powerful. They're not a loud culture per se. In some of the parts of town, different places in Tokyo, yeah, they're loud, they party, the kids come out at night and they, kids are kids, right? But as a whole, it was a very quiet, humble, and deeply powerful. When I was in Kyoto, in the temples, in the restaurants, people deliver and execute with a sense of humility because they believe they're fulfilling a purpose. That was big for me. I think when we don't know who we are and we don't know what we do or why we do it, we move with a sense of insecurity. We move with a sense of doubt because we don't understand our purpose, right? And once you get your purpose, your movements are very fluid. You move with confidence, right? There's no knee-jerk reaction. There is no, overwhelming response to someone's behavior. It's very calculated. It's very precise. And I saw that in the architecture and the marketing. Everything was very well thought out, very precise in their delivery and their execution, which makes me want to be more mindful in my execution. A punch is not a punch. It's not. A punch has so much meaning, right? Japanese might punch this way with the two knuckles, right? Kenpo will do a back fist punch, on and on. But again, being clear about that, being clear on the why, supporting it is what I'm discussing with you here. Everybody with me? So that was a big one. Hey, Ralph, all the way from Switzerland. What does Ralph got to say? From Tokaido, Switzerland. Hey, Svetlana. Svetlana's there with you? Oh, that's so awesome. That's awesome. I haven't seen Svetlana since the last It's Time. She was here last year for It's Time Life Purpose. Hopefully she makes it out for freedom. Hopefully you come too, Ralph. All right. The consistency is what was very appealing to me. Consistency. Consistency. That is something that is non-negotiable in Japan. People are consistent, right? Very, very consistent in their delivery. I mean, I saw it again from the matcha to the food stall to the train conductor to the person who helped us in Brandy Melville. Very consistent. Everybody was very, very consistent. And it was rooted, again, 2,000 years of tradition, conditioned thinking. And you have 98% of the population who are Japanese. They think very similar. That sense of order is easy to cultivate. Now, we're dealing with a much more diverse environment. I know that. But it's no excuse not to try to develop a sense of consistency, right? Consistency in the curriculum, consistently improving the curriculum, consistency in systems, consistently improving those systems, consistency in staff development, consistency improving the staff development, on and on and on, on and on. Now, I know this is a big brushstroke, but put it in there. What are some of the things you're taking away from this conversation today that you can take and implement into your school right now? Right now, what can you implement? And for me, I'm going to be so much more mindful with everything, especially with my words, because, I tend to think really fast and I often cut off people. So I want to be more consistent in my mindfulness to actively listen. That means being disciplined enough to be quiet, to lean in, to look at that team member, that parent, that student. And I'll not always feel like I have the answer, I have the solution. Because you know where the solution is? Caring. You know where the answer is? Being genuinely interested in what they're saying to you. And when I meet with TJ on Monday and ask him how things went and how he felt about his experience, I want to be in that conversation 1000%. Who's with me on that? See, so that, again, we can take away what we take away. Let's see what does Ken have to say there, sir. Yeah. The consistency in the train system was way overwhelming. I'd watch this train packed to the hilt and everyone's quiet. They're texting on their cell phone or watching, but everything's silent. They even came over the loudspeakers. Please remember, right? No loud conversation. Be courteous, right? Limit your cell phone use. Again, it's a system and it's a reminder to remind people. And they were all very orderly. Yeah, the trains were on time. And when I saw that post yesterday, I don't know how true it was, but they gave everybody back their money and the train conductor apologized because the train was late. When you're moving millions and millions, I don't know how many millions of people are in Tokyo, but they're in such a tight space. To move that people around from train to train, getting to school, getting to work, to get back home with that sense of order, you can't do it without being consistent in the delivery and the execution. And that's how we grow our schools. Be consistent in your delivery and your execution. You with me? All right. Yeah, and again, I've spoken about consistency several times, but the humility that goes with that, I think, because people have a deep sense of respect. 100-degree weather, dressed well. It's like, man, I'm in shorts and tennis shoes and a t-shirt, and these people are dressed to go to work in suits in 100-degree weather. I'm like, man, are you crazy? Right? But that attention, the care in their appearance, and what it means for what they do is unequaled. And I want to take some of that. I want to bring that into my schools at a higher level. Cool? All right. So let's take a look at that. What are your big takeaways today? Because I'm just about out here. That's all I got to share about that. Tell Svetlana I said hello, please. Yeah, I was going to take the day off because I'm still jet lagged. I'm not due back for anything until next week. But I wanted to be consistent. I wanted to hop on the show today. As you see, I'm excited. I posted a lot of pictures along the way because I wanted to share that experience with everybody, right? So as I finished every day, I would do posts because I wanted to share that with you. to help us learn. And again, it's not an ego thing. It's not that Japan is better than America or I'm an American. It's none of that. It's simply allowing yourself to go into a new environment with a deep sense of humility, with a deep sense of a desire to learn, to grow, to be a part of that. Cool? Not the little things that matter, it's everything that matters. Yeah, it is to me. And even when I make a cup of coffee, I make lattes for my wife and I every morning. The mindfulness, and I was born thinking about how even the direction I stir the coffee, how much foam, all of that sense, that attentiveness is powerful. And that's something I want to bring at an even higher level in our business. Do I think it'll equal enrollments? Yes, it will. Read my article on retention. I just posted it. It's in my blog. It's on all our different group pages. Please read that. Cool? Any other takeaways today? All right, Marco, we're going to get out a little early today, all right? So let's begin by thanking our sponsors. Who do we have? Dun, 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 dun. Tucson Market Muscles, my studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, and Kin Creative. All people I love, all people I do business with. I in my life, I want to be around people I love. I don't want to spend my time hanging out with people I don't like simply to make money. It's not me. It's not what I want to do, so I choose not to. All services I use, all services that impact my business, and I encourage you to do business with them. Cool? What do we have? It's Time Life Freedom, November 8th through 11th, right here in Millbrae, California. 10 spots, discounted at $199 off. Get them while they're there. Simply use the code FREEDOM when you check out, and you could be one of the 20 people who spend 4 days with me. It's a retreat. It's immersive. It's unlike anything in our industry. It's not a 2-day seminar where we do a bunch of social media posts. Look at me, I'm here, right? It really is about you. And that's why the discipline of only 20 people, year in and year out for 9 years, is why we are where we are. Cool? And then, of course, our group mentoring, me, Marco, Miss Monique, and Jason, we are mentors. We are not consultants. We mentor. We work with you. We're in the trenches just like you, day in and day out, running schools, failing, succeeding, and helping you achieve your version of success. Cool? So where can you find me? Easy to find me. Of course, his podcast is at YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, things like that. Do follow me at YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. For everything else, go to brannonbeliso.com. Cool? So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for allowing me to share what I've learned. Hopefully you take it and apply it, and you'll be able to better your life and your school. Cool? All right. I'm Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. Until we talk again, what are you going to go out there and do? Live your best life.